Hey everybody, I've completed all of the grading for week one, and I wanted to take an opportunity to provide you with just a little bit of feedback that'll help you as you move forward into the coming weeks. And I do this on the regular because a lot of times there might be something that you didn't lose points on in 1 week that maybe a lot of your classmates did, and I just want you to be aware of that so you're kind of cognizant of that moving into future weeks, and it kind of helps. So keep in mind for all 8 weeks, you'll consistently have a discussion thread assignment as well as an application paper. So the expectations for what I'm looking for there don't change from week to week. So that kind of helps in terms of consistency. Okay. So across the board for the first week in this class, the final project, the final work was very much where I would expect it to be. You're still trying to get a feel for the content, the class, and then also me as an instructor. So a couple of themes that I picked up on that I wanted to make you all aware of is keep in mind, so first with those discussion threads, that initial posting needs to be up by Wednesday every day. It needs to be in APA level format, okay? So a couple of things that I saw several people missed is that includes it needs to contain level 1 headers at a minimum. For a paper of that size, your initial post, level 1 is fine. You don't really need level 2. Okay, so I saw a lot of people left those out. Secondly, when writing in APA format, a couple of things you need to remember. You need to remove the first person pronouns, okay? So using the term I, me, that sort of thing needs to be eliminated, as well as contractions, okay? Didn't, won't, can't, shouldn't. Those are considered diction errors in APA. So just take that opportunity, go through the paper and double check that. So I get it, it's a lot of part of our daily language, so it's easy for us to think about that and include it. Don't do it, okay? And the best way to catch that, hand it to somebody else. Have somebody proofread the paper for you and just tell them, hey, this is what I'm looking for, okay? Another way you can do it is use your word processing tool, use Word, and do a search on using the apostrophe, okay? That kind of helps. I do that as well in my writing, okay? So keep that in mind. Also in APA level writing, keep in mind it's a scientific based formatting language, okay? So you need to remove statements like I think and I feel, all right? Now, so what many people come back and say is, well, yeah, you asked for our opinion on X. Yep, sure did, okay? Be bold, take a position, okay? Say they should do the following, okay? So be bold about that, and here's where you gotta tie it all together. Use a source to support that, okay? So that takes me to my next topic, use of sources, okay? What you want to push for in APA style writing is a balance between direct and indirect sources, okay? This week I saw a lot of people using indirect sources where you cite the source, but then you kind of summarize what the source said, okay? There's a time and a place for that, but the other thing to make APA style writing really pop is use of direct quotations that are quantitative in measure, okay? And for everything we'll write about for all 8 weeks, there is a wealth of sources out there on this sort of thing, okay? So for example, some of you were writing this week about, well, implementing an EHR will reduce, patient error. True, okay? Use a source, okay? And give me the quantitative measures, okay? According to Johnson, use of a well-implemented EHR can reduce patient or medical error by 62%. See the difference? Way more specific, way more pointed, and helps support your writing, okay? So always keep that in mind, all right? Last, when we're talking about the application papers, also need to be in APA format. Everything I just mentioned applies. What I noticed almost nobody did was you also need to include a conclusion, okay? So put a heading in there for the conclusion, okay? Is what a lot of you did when you wrote your application paper. You just took the questions that the case had and you just pasted that question in there. That did two things that you shouldn't have done. Number one was you used that as a heading, which I would agree with, but it was too long, okay? A level 1 heading needs to fit on one line, okay? So you need to wordsmith what that question was and get it down to one line so it fits on one line, okay? The other thing that some of you did by copying it and pasting it into your document was that kind of messed up the style of your document. And some of you, I noted, throughout your application paper, you had more than one different font and more than one different font style, okay? So don't do that. Again, take a pass through the paper and be sure that's all kind of cleaned up, okay? So again, keep in mind with those discussion threads, that initial post needs to be in by Wednesday of every week. and then you need to have at least 2 meaningful replies, okay? I graded the replies very generously this week, all right? But moving into week 2, what I'm going to really be watching for is, are you really adding value to the discussion, okay? So don't just come back into a peer's posting and say, I really agree with what you said. I like the points that you made about this, and I also like that you said that. You really didn't add any value, did you? Okay. I encourage you all to challenge each other's viewpoints. Okay. Come at this from a different angle. I assure you, we've got 18 people in this class. You all don't agree on everything. So let's have some respectful discourse as we move through this. Challenge your peers in a respectful manner, okay? And let's look at opposing viewpoints, because otherwise it gets really boring if we all agree with each other, okay? So on your application papers, I have the ability to go in and do some in-text documentation, and I know those of you that have been in the program for a while, not every professor does that. So if you don't know it's there, it's kind of hard to see. So what you will see in the comments section of the grade book for the application paper is a fairly generic, here's what I'm looking for. But then in the paper, I give you some very pointed feedback of things that I deducted points for. So I know in the past, every once in a while, I've had a student or two that for whatever reason, their viewer isn't letting them see it. If you can't see my comments in the paper, just give the help desk a call. They can walk you through updating your browser to the proper plugin. Okay? So again, pay note to my feedback. I try to get that in as quick as possible. I apologize a little late this week, later than I like to be, is a little under the weather. So I'm caught up now. But in the trade-off of trying to get feedback into you as quickly as possible, if something doesn't make sense, it might have been because I was, trying to get it to you pretty quickly. Just reach out to me. I'm happy to elaborate and expand any more. But do take note of that, because one thing that's very frustrating to me is when I take the time to give you feedback on a paper and I see you making the same mistakes week after week, and then come the end of the semester, you're not happy with the grade. So understand why you're missing the points. If you're not clear on it, reach out to me. Happy to talk through that with you. But again, you guys did a great job for the first week, and I wish you the best of luck moving into week 2.